All right, so where were these people taken from? So let's do a deeper dive. And basically from the coast of West Africa, from Senegal, they called it at the time Senegambia because Senegal and Gambia. Okay, Sierra Leone, West Coast, you know, Gold Coast, which was Ghana basically, the Bight of Benin and the Bight of Biafra, which is around Nigeria and Cameroon, and West Africa, which is the Congo and part of Angola. Okay, so a whole heap of people were taken, as I have here in this slide. I did this myself. I put this together myself from um, from the database of slave voyages. Okay, these are people who disembarked in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, and from where um, the boat embarked from. Okay, so
But
from the by, yeah.
over what period were the people taken to Trinidad and Tobago? So that we only have 25,000 there.
Okay, this is the 400 years. Okay, this is all the boats and the database that they have of all the ships. All right, and the number of people each ship had, and where they embarked from, where they disembarked to, how many people died, and so on and so forth. As I just, extracted this data. Okay, as we can see, Jamaica, all right, had the most, followed by Cuba. Okay, what I found interesting as I was going through this is that Antigua and St. Kitts, 119,000 people. Okay, 120,000 people, but Antigua only have 60,000 residents now. You see what I'm saying? So these numbers confuse me, right? It really did. So I asked a question at a history forum that I am in, okay, how come, these numbers are like that, because Antigua only has 60,000 people, St. Kitts have even less. Apparently, and I didn't know this, okay, the British passed the Freeport Act sometime in the 1600s, okay, which allowed ships to dock in these places, Antigua and St. Kitts and so on, okay, and to transfer people to other ships. So they didn't land, it was just a transshipment. Do you see? So the port of disembarkation would be Antigua, right? But they would transfer the people to other ships and they would take them to North America or wherever. Hence the reason for this. Okay, and it's called the Freeport Act. You can check it out on thing. All right, so 25,000 approximately came to Trinidad, and 15,000 or so came to it's Austin is called the database of slave voyages. Okay, you can pull it up. Actually, I have references on the slides themselves as to where I got this information from, so I could share that with you guys afterwards. All right, and it's for the entire North, South America and the Caribbean. Okay, all the ships. All right, this is interesting. So where were these people taken from? All right, who were these people? All right, all kind of people, Fulani, Bobo, Bisa, and so on. And it's interesting going through the African ancestry thing, which I was involved in. People all the time say they are Kru, they are Fang, they are Teke, whatever. It's interesting. Okay, but so let's now look at some of the people who they took. All right, and what they did and so on. All right, but before we do that, let's look at the Trinidad situation. Okay, and indeed, people from Trinidad basically were Igbo, Congo, Ibibo, and Mandingo people. All right, at least in 1813. Okay, this was the statistics I was able to find. So most of the people, it seems, were taken from in Trinidad, came from the Bight of Biafra, which is Nigeria, and and in other places in Africa, which means they could be like from here or somewhere that is not counted in there. All right, so let's talk about the Igbo. How are we doing for time so far? Okay, only 45 minutes.
Can I squeeze a question in?
Certainly.
So one of the things that, and this is an unscientific observation, as I move around the United States, it becomes really obvious that, you know, the people of African descent in one part of the country are completely different from another part of the country.
Yes.
Like in South Carolina, in particular, in the Charleston area, the type of African in that area is I had never actually seen that type of African until I lived in that area.
I'll tell you why that is.
Yeah, and then
okay.
so just let me finish. And then now I'm in St. Louis. That type of African is not here.
Okay. And that there's a specific reason for that. Okay. The plantation owners on this side of the Atlantic looked for certain people. Okay. So, you know, in Mississippi Delta and so on, they went for the people who could grow rice, right? You know, the tribe, the people on the continent who developed that, who familiar with that technology, right? In other areas, they would look for other types of people, right? So it wasn't like a first come and I just take you, right? Right? They were looking for specific types of people as well, which is why you will find a whole heap of people in where it is, St. Louis versus another area.
Yeah, and then in Charleston, South Carolina, it's completely different.
Yeah, right? It wasn't a random thing.
Okay.
So, Roger, I have a quick question also. So, the people Africans to the Caribbean versus Africans to the United States, can you speak a little bit about the geographic variation or commonality?
Well, I think the people in the Caribbean, if one were to speak in generalities, I would say that in the US there was a greater number of people from a greater number of places. Okay, so like in Trinidad, you see 4 main groups, right? But in South America, in North America, you will see a whole wide spread, okay, in there, all right? So for example, let me talk about the Igbo here, because a lot of Trinidadians are Igbo, all right? Traditionally, they come from Nigeria, okay, the Niger River, basically this area here, all right? They lived in democratic villages, okay, and that they had a king, okay, but basically each village, each territory was controlled by a chief, okay, and it was sort of a familial kind of situation, all right? So except for a few notable Igbo towns, which had kings called Obis, okay, communities were generally governed and administered by the elders. All right. Now, many Igbos lived along the Niger River, which is also interesting. So you had all of these disparate communities, all right, in Igbo land. All right. What happened when men realized that this European trade in gold was superseded by trade in people, they started to raid the other villages, you see? Okay, particularly those people in the area. And the Igbos were one of the, what should I say, most culpable people in that regard. You see what I'm saying? Right? So many Igbos who were living along the river became traders who sold captives to the Europeans. from the interior. So they would go into the interior and capture people. All right. So enslaved Igbo people were known to be rebellious and have a high suicide rate. Okay, and you could still find elements of them in Jamaica, Cuba, San Domingue, which is now Haiti, well, Santo Domingo. All right, this is what they were called, Barbados, US, Belize, and Trinidad and Tobago. Some of the words that we use, UNU, I'm sure you may know, have seen that word around. Bajans use it all the time. Okay, that is an Igbo word. Even the word BIM, BIMSHA, and for Barbadian people is an Igbo word that came out from the word BEM. All right. Okay, and so I have some pictures.
Roger,
yes.
Just sorry to interrupt you again, but
no problem.
How about to comment on the differences in African descent people just between Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah, well, if we go back to the slide here, see that Tobago. All right, where is it? Yeah. Okay, Tobago, and I did a graphic of this slide here. All right. Okay, so Tobago has a lot of people from elsewhere also. All right, so it sort of matches Trinidad, but you got more people from Sierra Leone in Tobago than went to Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? More people from the Bight of Benin and the Windward Coast, which is Angola. All right, that went to Tobago than to Trinidad. Okay, so the numbers might be small, but they're reflective of who were taken to these places. Okay? All right. Now, this here, all right, in the introductory slide, I had a slide here, that I'm sure piqued Peter's interest, Peter Khan. Okay, that first, the priest came, all right? So this here is a very famous book from one of these scholars, Nigerian scholars, Chinua Achebe, called the Things Fall Apart. So let me just play a few minutes of sound from a reading of this book.
It is already too late. It is already too late, said Oberika sadly. Our own men and our sons have joined the ranks of the stranger. They have joined his religion, and they help to uphold his government. If we should try to drive out the white men in Umuofia, we should find it easy. There are only 2 of them. But what of our own people who are following their way and have been given power? They would go to Umuru and bring the soldiers, and we would be like Abame. He paused for a long time and then said, I told you on my last visit to Mbanta how they hanged Aneto. What has happened to that piece of land in dispute? Asked Okonkwo. The white man's court has decided that it should belong to Nama's family, who had given much money to the white man's messengers and interpreter. Does the white man understand our custom about land? How can he, when he does not even speak our tongue? But he says that our customs are bad, and our own brothers who have taken up his religion also say that our customs are bad. How do you think we can fight when our own brothers have turned against us? The white man is very clever. He came peaceably and quietly with his religion. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together, and we have fallen apart.
Okay, so this is an interesting, are you guys seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is what happens when things fall apart. right? You know, put your trust in others, and that is what happened. That is effectively what happened to the Igbo, right? They sold a lot of their own people, all right? Okay. Then, of course, we have the Congo, all right? Now, the Portuguese people were amazed at how developed this society was, okay? They thought of it as Little Portugal, basically, all right, which they found on the African coast, all right? You know, very, very developed. Okay, so it was a highly centralized kingdom, okay? And the king organized things like, you know, communities into provinces. He collected taxes, tributes, and he even had a monetary system, okay? He performed religious rites as well as responsible for protecting his kingdom. So this is one of the first places that Europeans really made inroads into the African continent vis-a-vis, you know, using religion, okay? Because in 1491, the king converted to Christianity. You see what I'm saying? He was baptized, and the king, he took, yes, yes, can you hear me? Yes, go ahead.
VP, was a white woman involved in that conversion?
I have no idea. I didn't
Guys, I want to know, man.
I didn't pick that up.
Why would the king of this big place, allow them in and be baptized so early in the system of things? 14,
yeah, but it continues, you know. Okay, because I have a lot of Congolese friends, you know, now, okay, who express a lot of bitterness to Alfonso. Alfonso was this guy's son, okay, and you know, Christianity spread even further.
Yeah, but you telling me that before Columbus ever sailed, this man was baptizing?
Yeah, yeah, but it gets worse, you know, because one of Alfonso's sons, which is this guy's grandson, became the first African bishop in the Roman Catholic Church. You see what I'm saying? In 1518. All right. So between, you know, Alfonso himself protested, you know, the treatment of people from the Congo when the slave trade really started kicking. He wrote to the Portuguese king, his counterpart, about it. And, you know, the response was, well, you know, we will send a viceroy, you know, to see what is going on, and so on and so forth, which they did, but it didn't really stop anything. Okay, so between the 16th century and 1836, 4 million people were taken from the Congo, right? 2 million of whom survived the march to the coast, okay, and the journey across the Atlantic. A lot of them were shipped to Brazil. Okay, so you have a lot of Congolese people in Brazil right now. Okay, and you talked about you remember David Rudder had this song, Bahia Girl, and the other one, okay, talking about the closeness of, you know, cultural expression in Bahia and Trinidad. Okay, because a lot of these people were taken to Trinidad also. All right, and then you have the Mandingo. Okay, the Mandingo came primarily out of Mali. You know, these people are griots and tremendous singers. Even today, you know, people like this albino guy, I can't remember his name. Okay, but you know, in terms Salif Keita and so on, you know, tremendous griots and singers. Okay. So the Mandinkas are descendants of the Mali Empire, okay? And many of them were enslaved, Okay, and they influence a lot of tradition in Brazil as well as in southern United States and the Caribbean. I hope you guys hear this video because it has some of the songs, some of the ancestral songs that you would probably have heard back then. All right? Yeah, you're hearing the video. You guys seeing the video, yes?
Yep.
So this is called a kora. It's like a guitar or a sitar, you know? An ancient sexy drums. Yeah. So if you're into African music and so on, okay, realize that the kora is a really, special and very old instrument, okay, from Mali, basically. So the artist name is Sonia Jobate, and she comes from a long tradition of kora playing musicians, all right? Okay. Then, of course, you have the Fulani from Nigeria. Okay. The interesting thing about them now, all right, apart from the fact that they are pastoral people, okay, a lot of cows and so on. Okay. Right now, you have about 7 to 8 million of them, right, forming basically the largest nomadic pastoral people in the world today. All right. They are basically in central northern half of Nigeria. All right. Then of course you have the Wolof, and you know this guy Akon. Yes, Akon is Wolof. Okay. Interestingly, what's interesting about these people, all right, is apart from the fact that the women are known for their elegant dress and headwear and so on, many of the sayings that we now use today come from the Wolof, for example, let me just move this aside. Yeah, for example, it takes a village. You all know that saying, okay? That is a Wolof saying, okay? Sabu du foot bopam, okay? Means it takes a village. No man is an island, also is a Wolof saying. Time heals all wounds, right? So a lot of these things that, we now use without really knowing where they came from these types of proverbs that were used by the Wolof, okay? And they come out of Senegal, Gambia area up here, all right? Not necessarily in Congo, Central Africa, yeah? And then, of course, we spoke about the Ashanti, yes, from Ghana. And just to make over the same point, I just read the first paragraph, that the emperor, his heirs, and the notables all literally dripped in gold, right? The pages, the horses, and the dogs of the Tunkara were equally covered with it. People were literally living in gold. And this was from an Arab historian who had visited the place in the 11th century, long before the Europeans came, you see? So, of course, this was one of the first places that they actually started to trade with, you know, for gold, right? When they arrived, okay? Khalid had presented this in the first discussion that we had, all right? And then, of course, you have the Yoruba, all right? You know, interesting thing about the Yoruba as well is that, you know, you had a lot of infighting amongst the Yoruba, okay, that reached up to the 19th century, leaving them vulnerable to enslavement. You see, right? And large numbers were sold to Latin America. So a lot of the Yoruba influenced the religion, okay? So, you know, some Shango Baptist stuff, you know, in Cuba, Santeria is a big thing, yes. In Brazil, okay, Candomblé as well, you know, is also almost as big or maybe even bigger than Christianity, you know. Yeah, so that's Yoruba, all right?